it's an addiction because anybody in their right mind that would have to deal with something like that, be like, oh, this is it, I'm done. Like especially there's a lot of like new photographers now, like, oh, everyone wants to be a documentary and this and that.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to accept that, like, all right, cool, you want to document graffiti, this and that, unless I see them taking the risk. I don't care how pretty the pictures are. I don't care, how many people
Mm.
as far as like if they're not really taking the same risk as the writers take, it's hard for me to really feel like, all right, this dude is he's like really about this life.
Yeah, because you're the way you're
But
documenting the culture, you almost need to
yeah,
feel that energy that they experienced and taking that shot in within the motion in
yeah.
which they did.
Killa Kela podcast. KillaKelaOfficial.com.
Street Culture TV.
Instagram UK Frontline.
Beatbox created.
Killa Kela.
And we're here to talk about world music and street culture.
Killa Kela podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, Killa Kela podcast, live and direct, central London, or as central as you need to be, could be, want to be. You don't want to be anywhere else. Okay, people, our sponsors, the mighty GK Nifty Heads, have 10,000 play-to-earn GraffPunks NFTs to give away. Get ready as London's white trash goes blockchain digital with Bitcoin Cash tokens locked into them to claim. Get yourselves over to the website gkniftyheads.com and play to earn now. We've done it before, we're doing it again. We're going transatlantic at the moment. We're heading over to NYC. And it's a pretty special one for me because this gentleman, he's managed to document all the goings on the streets of New York and beyond with content creating from a bird's eye view of graffiti in the US. And it's a real privilege to have him on. It's Mr. Graffiti Wanderer, Freshpaint NYC. Billy, how are you, my brother?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, it's kind of rainy in New York right now. It's like cold and rainy.
Exactly the same, brother. It's
Yeah.
choppy to say that it's not graffiti weather.
Yeah, well, no, I like it doesn't have to be, the graffiti weather doesn't have to be like sunny and nice out. I like the challenging conditions regardless.
Yeah, actually,
I like rain. Yeah.
Let's get into this because you most definitely are all terrain. Like the amount of work you put in to the content you create and getting about in all kinds of extremes is super impressive, man.
I'd be doing it like even if I wasn't recording anything. I'm just out anyway. Sometimes I'll just be out, like I'm not recording, showing where I am, and I just like being out. I like the challenge of, I mean, just naturally the challenge. Regardless if I'm focusing on, my history goes back to like skating and snowboarding and just being out. And I'm just used to, you gotta be you gotta be resourceful. You gotta if there wasn't challenges, it would be boring, to be out and about. And I guess it depends what your focus is, but I just appreciate but it's always guaranteed though. That's why I've never just gone somewhere and like, oh, this sucks, this is boring. There's always just something to walk away with and be like, oh, that was crazy. And like the rest of the day, you're just like, did I just like see that today? Did I just experience that? It comes full circle eventually. That's what it comes. That's the pride. Like you think that I mean, I'm trying to think of a specific example. I don't want to go off on a tangent, but like you asked as far as just being out and about in the elements. So yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of factors,
Yeah, I would imagine so, because the amount of times
So
graffiti artists go out and paint, they're obviously working against the elements in the first place. You've kind of got to work it with the nuances of the culture anyway, right?
yeah, no, like, traditionally with the old school guys and the subway yards, like all the stuff they had to deal with, right? Like the dogs and barbed wire fences and the getting chased in the yards. You hear all these stories, but it's all very similar, even taking pictures. I got to deal with that stuff too. You know.
Do you? What do you have?
You know,
Do you have struggles like that?
Like every time, like it's I have a whole personal project I kind of want to put out there as well. In relation to that topic, because every time I go out and take pictures, there's like some sort of confrontation, whether it's and it kind of like messes with my your mental state in a way, because but in a way I keep it positive. I make it enjoyable. I learn. I develop like these skills. I also learn from other people too. I watch how other people deal with situations, and I'm like, well, if that guy could talk to that guy in a certain way, this is how I'm going to talk to people. Because I'm not a very intimidating person. See, that's the thing. I'm an easily approachable person. So people that when they see me out, they're like, oh, I can go up to this guy. I could mess with him. I could shake him down. And you got to know how to respond in those situations, So I've definitely, being mature too. I'm not gonna do like dumb shit. Like I'm sorry, I'm not gonna like just do irrational stuff in response to someone trying to interfere. I'm just taking pictures. I'm just trying to pass through. I'm just walking through taking pictures. I'm not looking to bother anybody. But people go out of their way. They're trying to bother me, and it's like, it brings a piece of your mental state out.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Yeah. But same thing with an active graffiti writer. I'm not trying to say that I'm an active graffiti writer in the situations, but yeah, of course, you're an active graffiti writer. You got to know how to respond. I think it comes down to the bigger. I'm not a big dude, but it's different. I think if you're bigger, a bigger dude, more like you know how to fight. It becomes an addiction too, I guess. Meaning like holy shit, I just went through all that, and like you're like I'm never gonna do that again, and then you have this high, and then everything levels out, and you're like I want to do it again, and then you got to go back and see if you could reach that level of adrenaline again,
Yeah, that's incredible that you go through those phases. So what's the most craziest moment you've been faced with when going out and capturing graph?
I actually was gonna post some pictures that I've been sitting on for like 10 years that on Instagram. I think there was some other people that were there that night that posted stuff that around the same time, and I'm like, you guys are crazy. Like, and this was like 10 years ago. Like, I didn't really feel like it was appropriate to post these pictures right away because there's a lot of factors involved. But yeah, I met up with, I was with just a mix of people. Honestly, I wasn't even with graffiti writers. I was with a couple girls, some other photographer friends who were like urban explorers.
Mm-hmm.
That's another part of, the urban exploring thing.
For sure.
Is more of like another reason for being out and about. And just exploring and, just hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them new graffiti writers actually were pretty wild. And I never met them before. And we all hung out. And we were in the bar. And the dude's like, oh, nice to meet you. It's like, yo, if you ever want to get some exclusive shots, let's go hit some, take some pictures of me hitting some gates, whatever.
Right.
And I was like, sure, like whatever. So we're all walking around, these girls in high heels, one girl's like in a dress, and like we're all chill, everyone's chill. And these dudes, there was a bunch of them too. It was the one dude, but then he was with his boys. And they're like, oh, you know what? The streets are kind of whack right now. It was too busy. It wasn't like, they didn't feel like it was a good idea to start hitting gates.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, they go down to the subway station. I'm like, oh, here we go.
Here comes the money.
We go down to the subway station, and by the time, it was so many of us, and by the time like I was the last person down, they're already hitting all the walls on the platform, like the tile walls.
Yeah.
It's just that's what they do. That's what these guys do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, I'm here, here and there. I wasn't even. It wasn't nothing planned. It was like, these guys are painting. I'm gonna snap some pictures, and that's that. I mean, the whole platform is getting full of fumes. It was kind of wild. It was like random people standing around, and then this train pulls in, and all these people get off the train. And at this point, I'm all the way at the end of the platform, and these dudes are still painting.
Oh shit!
And I mean, it would have been sick to have on video. It's one of these things now, like. But this was like, yeah, the documenting of things was still sort of. I wasn't actually videoing stuff at the time when this was all happening either, so I didn't even think about videoing it.
Mm-hmm.
I just was like, let me snap some pictures. And so anyway, everyone's getting off the platform. These guys are painting, and these two dudes get off where I'm at the end of the platform, and I could see that the way that they looked at each other, like they looked at each other like with this, like they were trying to communicate with each other, but they didn't like verbally say anything.
Right.
And like they had, you could tell what undercover cops, like anybody who is weathered enough, you could tell what an undercover cop looked like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not hard to spot them. And I was like, yo, these guys are cops. That's crazy. And they're just walking like past everybody while they're painting. And I'm watching, and then a couple other dudes who were just taking pictures too. We all kind of like looked at each other, and once these undercovers got to the end of the platform,
mm-hmm.
they grabbed somebody who was painting. That's one thing in the story. I'm not gonna say any names. I'm not gonna say where it was.
No, that's totally cool.
I'll just put it out there. It wasn't even in New York City.
Okay.
Just to cover grounds.
Okay, got you.
But so anyway, I saw one of the other dudes who was taking pictures. I saw him jump in the train track in the tunnel, and he just started booking it down the tunnel. And keep in mind, we're all like the urban explorer dudes. We know the tunnels well.
Yeah,
we're not just blindingly running in the darkness. I knew they knew the tunnels well. I knew the area very well, and yeah. So he's booking it down the express track, and I'm here. At this point, people are yelling, like people are running, and everybody else in the group, they just kind of like all scattered, and at this point, I'm like, for me to leave here, I'm gonna have to walk past all this stuff, and so I basically ran. I jumped in the tracks and I ran after some direction my friend was running.
No way.
And so I'm booking it, and we're think about this too. We're partying with a little buzz, so like you got this real adrenaline going, like this high, like what is going on right now?
Yeah.
And you're hearing the police sirens, the cops. More cops are showing up. They called it in, and I'm booking it. At this point, I just assumed I was getting chased at the same time, so I was like, I'm gonna get tackled in the tunnel right now.
Yeah.
But I just kept running, and I kind of like stopped to catch my breath, and then I was like, oh shit! And I started looking at all the old tags on the wall. I was like when you're in the tunnel, you're like, oh shit! And I think I tried snapping flicks from walls, and then I was like, no, I gotta go, I gotta get out of here.
Focus, man, focus.
And then, yeah, and then basically ran to the next station, and just kind of like shook it off, and that was crazy. I don't think the outcome of those dudes, I think only one of them got bagged. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen those guys since. I haven't seen them since that night. Actually, it's kind of crazy, but I don't keep in touch with. I try to balance out that level of, because I don't want that to be if I was to do that every time, like that's be too much, like I don't look for that level of adrenaline that intense, that was pretty crazy. And but yeah, you gotta improvise. You gotta use your resources, and just you gotta like think fast
And move
just
quick.
yeah. I don't know. It's like it's an addiction because anybody in their right mind that would have to deal with something like that be like, oh, this is it. I'm done. Like especially there's a lot of like new photographers now. Like, oh, everyone wants to be a documentarian, this and that.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to accept that. Like, all right, cool. You want to document graffiti, this and that. Unless I see them taking the risk. I don't care how pretty the pictures are. I don't care, how many people you know.
Mm.
As far as like if they're not really taking the same risk as that writers take, it's hard for me to really feel like, all right, this dude is he's like really about this life,
Yeah, because you're the way you're
But
documenting the culture, you almost need to
yeah,
you need to feel that energy that they experienced and taking that shot in within the motion in
yeah.
which they did.
Yes, no, there are a lot of amazing. We do way more impressive stuff I'm not, I'm not considering myself any level of superiority. It's like I'm just saying that there's definitely amazing photographers that are doing, with the repelling graffiti now. These photographers are on the roofs with these guys taking photos. I haven't done that yet. I've never gone up on a roof with any of these repelling guys. I've never actually seen a guy doing repelling graffiti in real life yet. I take pictures of the walls, but I'm seeing some of these action photos of them climbing buildings. They have their documentarian photographers with them, and that's really impressive stuff.
Mm.
They're not
Yeah,
just flying.
that shit's
They're
incredible.
not just flying a drone up there to get their shots. They're hanging off the buildings with these guys, these repelling graffiti writers, guys and girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. I mean, that is, and New York certainly holds a crown to that level of graph intensity hanging off buildings and such. It's like 2024, 25 adrenaline sport rush version of
Yeah.
graph right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And the craziest thing with the repelling thing that, I mean, I guess if I had the time, I'd be like, try to do some sort of formal interview or whatever, but I'm not really all there because it's still like evolving. It's still like it's so like moving fast right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait till it kind of slows down to really try to document or interview somebody or have a firsthand look. But my biggest question is, and my biggest like when I see some of these spots, and I know some of these spots pretty well that they're repelling from, like what the hell are they tying to? Like there's rusty pipes on some of these like 100-year-old buildings. Like they're not. I don't know. Like that's just like, or like there's like a tree branch growing out of a roof. Is that like what you're tying yourself to? I don't know. I don't know. It's amazing that but I don't know. It's impressive and I respect it, and I'm actually seeing people in response to a lot of this stuff, the repelling stuff, like, oh, it's boring. When I see those comments, I'm like, you go up on that roof and you tie yourself to a 100-year-old rusty pipe or whatever it is, and just dangle over the side of the roof for like a minute and tell me that shit was boring. It's like,
Yeah. Man,
yeah,
like, can you imagine? I mean,
yeah,
this isn't playground shit. This is like
yeah. Like
proper.
you could like that's literally, and someone, if I was to ever be like, I want to do it, I want to, just say I did it. I'd probably pick a roof that I'm not gonna die, like if I fall, because I'm pretty like accident prone. A black cloud covers over me at all times. I'm accident prone, and I would do something dumb and I'd probably fall. But I don't want to. I wouldn't go on a roof that I'd die from. Like I'd break a bone or something.
Yeah, I can't imagine death being on the Graffiti Wanderers top list of
Yeah,
things to achieve.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
being said, I mean, you do take these, these walks to quite a limit. You go to some pretty hood, ghetto places, man. Like it's always it's charming because when I used to go to New York quite a bit, and having not been there for a while, it's really there's something warming to be able to see it in its reality in an up to date way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the neighborhood thing, I mean, that's when it comes down to, I like to know the air. I know the areas very well, to be honest with you. Like the areas that I frequent, I know a lot about these neighborhoods. Like I'm not blindly going to these neighborhoods. I know like what every neighborhood is like at a certain time of the day. I know the way the people move. I know like, so I'm just comfortable in a sense. And I've been in situations where I know like I'm putting myself in the heat of the moment in like a hot zone where I'll potentially get messed with. And there was one time I laugh about it because, you know, Harlem has this stereotype, and there are still some blocks where you don't want to be too, you know, you don't want to be too in people's business.
Mm.
And I think I was just walking, I was being nosy, and I got approached by these young dudes, and they were trying to pull some shit. Like they probably like they're ready to rob me.
Wow.
And I started telling them the story about like I started dropping names that like not many people. So it's going back to the skating days.
Right.
Like
Okay.
I knew like people who were born and raised in a lot of these neighborhoods, and I know their family, and I knew like the history of their families. So I knew the names to bring up. And there was this one dude, but look up his name, Bashi Pope, right?
Bashi Pope. Okay. Look that and Google
Yeah,
that shit, kids.
yeah, Bashi Pope. I discovered that kid when he was like 14 years old. I don't even think he was like, and we were skating. We used to video each other rollerblading. But his that whole side of whatever's out there in the news, that's it's out there. But I mentioned, how I knew his family and stuff, and they kind of chilled out.
Really?
They weren't, because they're very like tied in with a lot of the neighborhood up there, and like I was telling them, and they were hyped that like I knew Bashi, like, and they go by other names too. I haven't seen them in like recent years. I don't know, but they go by other names, and it's just kind of wild that how everything comes full circle.
Yeah, relying
like
on your street knowledge to get yourself out of scrapes in those places you don't.
And this is crazy too. Not a lot of people know. Anybody watching this that like know graffiti and know the skating days when Bashi was coming up, he used to tag, but I don't think he was like trying to be a writer. I think he had a name. He used to write, and I used to be like, "What are you doing?" And he was like. He was like writing. I was like, yo, what are you writing? And he was, whatever his tag was. And I got a kick out of it because I wasn't that keen. I wasn't that focused on like tagging. I only knew a couple old school legends, like I only knew like graffiti to me at the time in my skating days was just like the legends, like that you've seen in Style Wars or like, Zephyr. And I only knew like a few household names and some local dudes that weren't known, and that's it. Like I didn't have this big knowledge base of but yeah. And I mean I knew dudes from skating from California that used to come to skate in New York City, and we'd walk around and they'd be pointing out tags like, yo homie, that homie crushes in the Bay, homie. And I'm like I don't care, like. And now present day, I remember this dude was showing me like, like GK tags, like
Wow.
like
Okay.
what like I didn't know at the time,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So hold on. So where are you originally from in New York? Where did you?
Long Island, Long
Long
Island.
Island. Long Island. Okay. Okay. Got you.
It's the suburbs, but there's a big history out there that I have no. There's a big history out there that I have pride in being able to say. As you grow older, you appreciate it because it's changed now. I think now, like if you were coming up out there in Long Island, it's people are like, like what's out there.
Mm.
But like in the '90s, it was like so many like people that went on to just do amazing things or came out of Long Island, and it's wild. And I love just like um I run into people all the time, like like sharing stories, and we know a lot of things that are not so publicized. Someone needs to do like a real graffiti book on Long Island. It's
That
a
in
very
itself.
difficult one. Yeah, I mean, there's so many legends that came out of Long Island, but I left there in 2000. I left there and like, and I rarely go back. I
Mm.
don't know. It's changed. It's not. I don't really like going back out there, and I make fun of people too sometimes when I see them all out in the Hamptons.
Yeah.
They're all like trying to be all flashy, like I'm in the Hamptons. I'm like, and I used to work in the Hamptons. I know what it's like. I'm not. It's yeah. It's kind of fake to unless you can afford to be out there. Like unless you have a reason to make a living out there. I would just go out there to spend money and be like to say you're from. It's kind
Yeah.
of the way the media, the internet, the way the media portrays it. It's just kind of dumb.
Yeah. When I
But I
think
have
of
yeah,
the Hamptons, I think of Barefoot Contessa.
yeah. Well, yeah. There's that aspect of it. But it's changed. It's definitely changed. It's changed a lot. Like I tried revisiting, and it's just like I don't even know. I had no connection anymore.
Yeah.
I had no
Yeah.
connection out there. Other than memories, where I get a headache. Like I have like too many memories. Like, and it's just like, all right, I got to get out of here. You know?
Yeah. 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 It's a nice place to
Yeah.
visit, but you don't want to live there, kind of thing. I get it.
Unless you can afford to live there comfortably, then it's like you can live anywhere. But
Yeah.
you it's kind of like secluded, kind of isolated out there from. It's not. It's very like I don't know to have an actual career and make
Mm.
money and live out there. It's I don't know like your options are very limited.
Yeah, I can imagine. New York's changed a lot, man, hasn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, the whole dynamic of New York and London's following suit rapidly. It's changed
yeah.
so much, even over the last like 3 or 4 years, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's all over the world. It's not. Yeah, I'm definitely not. I'm not blind to the fact it's it's not happening. It's in every city, and
Yeah.
everyone, and that's every city I travel to. I'm like had the same conversations, and places I haven't been to before. I want to see as much as I can see of
Mm.
what it used to be like, or even if like there's an old building or a place that's not there anymore, I still want to just go there and be like, cool, this is where it was, and I'll I'll learn what I could with what I got with with what's left.
What do you think as what area of New York do you think when you think of all the boroughs, where do you think has the less gentrification that still holds a flame for its original look and appeal?
Probably Staten Island. Yeah, Staten Island. Like,
Gotcha.
I mean, there's nothing going on out there.
No, no. Apart from
The
one of the biggest
Bronx,
rap acts ever, apart from one of the biggest rap acts ever, right?
yeah, but nothing's like changed. Nothing's really changed. It's really small out there, and it's nothing. I mean, maybe there are changes going on that people are gonna now give me a hard time for saying that, but I don't. There's nothing really going on out there where it's like. I remember there was this abandoned building out there that I got invited to. It was a really cool spot, and I went there when it was abandoned, still abandoned,
Right.
but it was really forgotten about. And then like a developer it was in the news, it was supposed to be developed into condos and apartments. And then I got invited there by some dude from some local writer, and then some guy from a newspaper had the key. And it's like where this was like already 10 years ago also, and it's like, we want you to document the last days of this building. It's going to be
Wow.
apartments. The building's still there. It's still abandoned. They never did anything with it. I don't think anyone wants to live in that neighborhood. There's no real, but who's that, yeah, I mean, they have like the abandoned hospital area. That nothing's changed with that area. Still like shitty buildings but there's no gentrification going on out there.
No.
If there is, correct me, like tell me I'm an idiot, but I don't know. I pass through there just because I like going somewhere different sometimes, but the Bronx is very, very changing a lot. It's really crazy. Yeah. It's a tough one because I've developed a real personal connection with the Bronx just naturally.
Yeah.
Meaning I really don't have a reason to be there. I just brought myself there for as of like 99, 2000. I started going there.
Right.
And I saw the changes. I saw when there was like a lot of untouched, forgotten and places, and everything is really, I mean, I could pinpoint, I have conversations all the time with like real, like born and raised people from the Bronx, and I could get very deep into conversations about locations, and there's definitely like all the old buildings I could think of like the last really old building, which was an old brewery. It was like from the pre-prohibition era. And it was just this mysterious building in the woods or like on a hill. And it's now being turned into apartments and condos. Even the local people, like the local people in the neighborhood, they were playing dominoes in the backyard and I was like, yo, this is like, what are they doing? Like, oh, they're going to put apartments.
What happens to all those people? That's what I want to know. Like, we get this all the time.
That's a whole nother topic. I don't know. That's when the gentrification and the politics and all that come into play.
Tell me, what's the vibe like graffiti wise in New York at the moment, as it stands right now?
If I was to come to New York just for a weekend, and what would I want to see? What neighborhoods would I want to see? What writers would I want to see? Like, you could never see it all in a week. There's a lot to see. You know, same goes with like probably Bay Area, California, and Europe, obviously. But yeah, New York. So there's a lot going on. There's buffing going on here and there, but I don't know. The buffing doesn't make any sense to me. It's just because they buff, right? They have a program that you call 311 and you say there's graffiti. I don't know if I remember there used to be a thing where like sanitation will give a business owner a fine if they don't clean the graffiti off their building, and I think that's still a thing because I have seen business owners buffing their own building.
Really? Wow.
But I don't know if that's still a thing or they're just trying to clean up the neighborhood. But honestly, I don't mind the buffing. I kind of like, I mean, it sucks that, if there's a dope wall or like a writer who passed away or like, that they got to buff it. But they did, the only thing that really sucks is like, there used to be really old walls with like untouched for several decades, just like old shit on it, and it just naturally was fading. And all that stuff is all gone. There's nothing more. Like I'll just come out and say like all the relics are gone. They're all gone.
Man, that's such a shame.
I mean, someone was going to be like, no, there's go here. There's old tags, but it's like that's really all that's there. It's like it's not like it was where.
Hold on. So when you go out, because I've seen videos where you've gone out and you see these proper old school OG tags. Are you saying that a lot of them are just they're disappearing?
Yeah.
Man, that's a shame.
There's even a spot. Like, there's like this one wall that I was told by an OG, like, don't share it with anybody, and I never did. I never put in any of my videos. And I'll ask him again because honestly, I went to visit it. It's so like badly weathered. It's like a homeless guy was living in this room, and I think or I don't know, like it was a big fire or something, and it's all charred, and like the
Mm.
tiling that was, it's just all, you can't, it's barely legible anymore. But when I went to visit it, it was just like untouched
Mm.
from the 80s. Old, really old tag. It was a Taki 183 tag.
No way.
You know, like yeah, and I don't think, unless like in a subway tunnel somewhere hidden, I don't know of, or you know, some of these old buildings sometimes have, but every building has been completely cleaned, like gates, stairways.
Wow.
I mean, I remember going into some project building in like 99, 2000. It was just so much graffiti in the stairways. Now you go in the stairways and it's like, it's all clean. It's cameras. And I'm sure it's, you know, every city, you know, it's all the same everywhere. It's just part of life.
Yeah, I'm seeing.
So
Like Made You
it's,
Look and guys like that doing the subway trains. There's a lot of subway, from what I understand.
yeah.
There's a few subway trains being slipped in for good measure at the moment in New York as well, right?
Yeah, but that's I don't know. I'm not really, I just, if I see one, I'll take a picture of one.
Mm.
I don't know much about that whole world. It's a whole nother world that
Mm.
I'm riding a train and I'll see a train, I'll take a picture of it. But that's the extent of it. I've never gone on any missions like that, you know?
Nah,
Like I
no,
said, I feel like there's like always like a dark cloud hovering over me, and it's just like, it's always like another headache, you know? But
yeah,
I appreciate it. Everyone knows I appreciate it, so that's all that matters. I appreciate it. People
yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I get it.
yeah.
To have some lightning with your thunderstorms, one thing. To have electric volt coming from your foot to your leg for whatever reason,
I bring too much. I bring too much stress to the situation.
really, do
Yeah,
you get do you get a sense of that? Do you, the feeling of like risking one's own life when
yeah,
going out like that? All right,
yeah. But anyway, I'm being honest though. That's the thing too. Not a lot of people try to fake it. I'm being honest.
dude, you're one of the realest people out there doing it. Like, I think a lot of my lot, we gravitate to it because it's raw and it's honest and it does what it says on the tin.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's yeah. You know, just keep it humble too. I'm not really chasing anything. I'm not like, I don't really have any goals. Um, as far as like what's the end game? Just as long as everything is like properly documented, and keep doing the videos, and I think everything will naturally speak for itself in the end. You know,
Historically
meaning
correct
like,
as well,
yeah, yeah. I just went to go watch this movie. Um, it was from 1983, and it actually predates Star Wars, and it's
Yeah?
like, yeah, it was. It's called. It was a short film. It was really short. That guy's Sharp, the old school writer Sharp.
Yep.
He did the Wild Style mural in the park. Remember
That's it.
that famous? But yeah, he did a movie um with Delta 2 and Dez K Slay, and when they were all teenagers, when they were all kids. And
What?
but when they did that, they had none of them had any. I don't think they had any idea that we'd be sitting in a movie theater watching this movie 20 however many years later, for 1983,
What's the name of the movie?
discussing it. Forbidden Rebels.
Forbidden
Wait,
Rebels.
Forbidden Rebels. Um, I'll send you if I have some pictures or information. I'll pass on to you if I have any, or I'll give you Sharp's information. And if you might, maybe you want to he's on Instagram. I don't know him personally, like,
Mhm.
but you could contact him, and maybe you want to talk to him about the movie, because I didn't know about it prior.
Wow, that'd be incredible. That's a great idea, man. No, I really appreciate that,
It was
man.
cool. Really, some of the footage in the movie, like in the story too, about how they how they uh how they did it was great. I was really, I'm still. It was less than 24 hours ago that I saw this movie,
Oh, so you're still buzzing
And
about it. Yeah. So it's,
yeah, and I'm thinking of all the things I heard
Mm.
that I did not know prior. You know.
nostalgia's a beautiful thing, isn't it, Bill? It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, then, my brother. Look, I'm going to let you go because I know
All right,
you're a
yeah.
busy guy. I know you're busy out there, still wandering around doing your thing. So thank you so much for joining us on the Killa Kela podcast, brother. I hope we can do this again soon.
All right, cool. Thank you so much. Yo, peace.
Nice one, my brother. Yeah, Killa Kela podcast, Outletting was out of fashion. Bill, Graffiti Wanderer, hold tight. And for the rest of you, sharing is caring. Remember, tell a friend to tell a friend. Crime don't pay, but neither delay. You stay lucky, people. Easy.